Welcome back to part 2 of Next on the Tee. We're not done yet. Coming up, more stories, more insight, and more reasons to love this game. Let's dive right back in. Part 2 starts now, right here on Next on the Tee, where golf legends live and your game gets better.
Hey folks, welcome back into part 2 of this week's show featuring my conversation with the great Martin Chuck. You guys know Martin. Golf Digest has him inside the top 10 of instructors in our game. Martin has become a wonderful friend over the last few years. He is back again with me, and we go through a whole lot of things. One of the things that we really focus on is, what is that one thing? If you only have time to practice one thing a week on your game, what should that one thing be? Martin will tell you what it is here in a minute. Then I get his thoughts on if we're starting to get to the point in our game where we're into data overload. All the tech that we have available to us now. I learned at the PGA Merchandise Show, the TrackMan is coming out with 9 new data points. I can't imagine what new 9 things that there could be or that we need. And Martin weighs in on that. He shares what role confidence plays in becoming a good ball striker. We know what the right mindset is. You got to have a good one, a positive one, if you're going to play this game well at all. He's going to tell you what role it plays in becoming a good ball striker. Plus, when we go to the range prior to our round, we need to have a plan. Martin talks about having a plan for what your round is going to be like. Take a look around. What are the critical shots on the course you're about to play, whether it's your regular one or you're going to a new one? Maybe ask some questions, but what are the key shots that you're going to face that day? And then go to the range and warm up hitting those shots. So by the time you get to the point where you're facing a difficult shot, well, heck, you've hit it several times already that day. Go out and do it again. So that's such a wonderful tip. Martin goes into more of the details on that as well. So folks, Martin's fantastic. You know that he is. He's done so many great things in our game. And look, when you're in the top 10 of instructors, this is a guy you need to pay attention to closely. So sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next half hour or so. All right, but before we get into all of that, are you tired of boring golf clothes? Well, Sunday Swagger is changing the game with premium performance apparel that delivers the look and feel of $100 polos for much, much less, while never sacrificing style for comfort. Their bold polos, shorts, and outerwear feature 4-way stretch and moisture-wicking fabric that moves with you, whether you're crushing drives or crushing happy hour. With over 300 unique designs and vibrant colors ranging from bestsellers like Jawbreaker to exclusive collaborations with people like Guinness, Sunday Swagger offers something for everybody. And their matching prints for couples and families with children are flying off the shelves. You might even recognize some Sunday Swagger designs in popular Hollywood movies and TV shows, including Happy Gilmore 2. Sunday Swagger is guaranteed to turn heads and spark conversations. Visit SundaySwagger.com and join the Sunday Club for exclusive drops and member benefits. Sunday Swagger. It's your swagger. Embrace it. Own it. And I also want to remind you about our great friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants. I also want to give a shout out to our great friends over at Squares Golf.
So Nick here. What if there was a golf shoe embraced by hundreds of thousands of golfers, celebrated for its stability, comfort, and distance? What if this shoe earned the title of most technologically advanced golf shoe by Sports Illustrated? And what if the company behind that shoe spent the last year perfecting a brand new category of golf footwear? Well, the what if is here. Introducing the all-new Pro S2 LT by Squares, a new class all of its own. The perfect blend of lightweight comfort and stable performance. You'll notice the difference. Change your shoes, change your game. Squares.
Okay, now next on the tee with me is Martin Chuck. This is the third time that I've had the privilege of getting to spend some time with Martin. Let me remind you about his background. He's been named a top 100 teacher by Golf Magazine every year since 2017. Golf Digest ranked him number 9 this year. You can find him out at the Raven Golf Club in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, he's originally from Toronto, Ontario, played his college golf at New Mexico State from 1988 to 1991. While he was there, he earned his degree in professional golf management. After college, he spent a few years playing out on the Canadian Tour and what was then the Nationwide Tour. He's been a club professional and director of golf at places like Indian Ridge Country Club, Arrow Creek Country Club, and Tetherow Golf Club as well. He's got his own teaching academy now, Tour Striker Golf Academy. You probably know about all the great training aids that he has created over the years. And I couldn't be more excited I get to spend some more time with him this week right here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Martin, thanks for coming back on the show.
Chris, it's a pleasure to be with you, buddy. Thanks for having me. Quite the intro.
Martin, I want to start our time this time around by talking really about you, because you don't achieve the great things that you have over the course of your career by accident. Top 10 teacher in the country is a huge thing. What do you attribute that great success that you've had to?
Just every day, one foot in front of the other, failing forward. It's funny you say that. I did a complimentary coaching program called Seven Figure Coach that I just launched a couple days ago. And, for anybody listening and interested, it's, if you go to my Instagram, Martin Chuck PGA on Instagram, and you go to the bio, you can see it there. Now it's for coaches and people that teach. It's not just for random people to watch. So you got to be in the industry that somebody in the industry could watch it. And the reason I did it, it's 53 brief videos of where I started, what I did, how I did it, what you probably ought to do to avoid these pitfalls, and then how you can start to build a business that is can provide a really good lifestyle and help people get way better at golf. So, I joke, I've been teaching for 40 years, and so it took me 30 years to get, quote, recognized as one of the high level teachers. And those ratings it's an honor for peers to kind of go, hey, this guy Martin Chuck helps a lot of people, will vote him in. Because I'm not out there teaching tour players. Like most of the teachers that hit those ratings are out on the lesson tee, weekly with a tour, where everybody considers that to be really sexy. But honestly, I'm doing meat and potatoes, teaching guys that are 50 to 80 at my golf camp every week, having a flipping blast, helping them slice it less and chip it better and take 5 to 10 shots off the game. And so that's what I do. And I love doing it. Ladies or guys, we teach right now, mostly adults. I've taught a ton of kids in my life, and now my focus is on an adult golf camp rather than a kids golf camp. And I've got some fantastic assistants, and we kind of meet the needs of all the students that want to come see us, whether kid or adult.
So let's take that a step further, Martin, because for amateurs like me who need your help, when we show up to one of these camps or to a lesson with you, are our swings typically way off where we've got so many things that we need to focus on and fix, or are we overthinking it and overcomplicating it a lot of times?
It boils down to what we call the root flaw. Usually, if we fix one thing, we can domino effect 4 or 5 positive things from one correction. Now, the challenge when people try to fix one thing is that in the short term, it might feel really, really awkward to them. We hear, oh, that feels weird, right? Or, oh, that's uncomfortable. Well, I always say golfers, they're lifelong beginners. Even if somebody's played golf 30 years, the best they've ever, they might maybe shoot an 82 as their career low score, or they shoot 88 to 92, most 90% of the time they play. So they're really a lifelong beginner because the physicality is there for them to shoot low 80s or break 80. The problem is they've got a root flaw that they've played around forever. So to your point is that once a good coach identifies a root flaw, everything is kind of focused on that. Now that might be an open face to path, that might be a closed face to path, or just concepts. Some people have the wrong concept. Like, they're told, they're given a lesson by their lovely, well-meaning uncle, and their uncle says, "Hey, you got to keep your head down, keep your eye on the ball." And they might take that to the nth degree, and it robs them of their rotational physicality and their swing speed because they're staring at the ball trying to hit it. Well, I mean, I've seen blind golfers play very good golf, so keeping your eye on the ball, so to speak, you know, isn't a fundamental. Learning how to move in 3D space that keeps your head steady, that's a fundamental. So there's a big difference from keeping your head still and doing it the wrong way to kind of knowing how to move in three-dimensional space in this crazy side-on game that we swing a club at high speed and we have to have a bit of precision at the bottom to touch the ball before we brush the grass. So when you give good players the right concepts, they tend to develop themselves. And then the way we do it is we teach them how to take their own videos of themselves. So they become their own best coach because I want them taking ownership of their field so they trust it implicitly. And then they have feedback mechanism through my guys and I to go, yep, you're on the right track, way to go. Keep doing that. It's going to get better. And then we know, obviously, you got video proof and you've got some technology these days that gives you the, the actual data that shows them they're getting better. So it's objective data rather than, subjective data.
Martin, you mentioned, your students giving you feedback or this feels weird when you get a change, and that's going to happen, right? If we're going to improve, things are going to feel odd because we've been doing it one way for years and that way is wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
making the adjustment is going to feel kind of weird. But, to take that out a little bit further, one of the things, as I've been talking with a lot of your peers about over the last several weeks, is because there is so much instruction out there, whether you can see it on Instagram or YouTube or anywhere on social media. Sometimes students now come in with a preconceived notion and you're telling them, hey, here's what the problem is. And they go, no, no, no. I saw this on YouTube. That can't be right. What you're telling me can't be right. I've never heard of that in the past where instruction and teachers, certainly people of your caliber, are told, well, what I saw on YouTube is now coming into conflict with what you're telling me. So what you're telling me has to be wrong. Are you seeing more students that kind of challenging what you're trying to get them to do?
That's never, that typically, I got to be honest, like when people come see me, it's not like they're catching me in a vacuum. They don't know who I am. I'm not some, rando teaching pro guy that they're taking a lesson from. I charge, my camp's expensive, my hourly rate's expensive. So when people book a time with me, they know what they're getting. They've seen me online, they know what to expect. So they may challenge, I haven't had too many people outwardly challenge me on my lesson tee because they know I'm good at what I do. I've been doing it a long time. So, and I'll say to them, I'll say, hey, listen, I know you're juggling a lot of thoughts. I'm going to show you through video and through some data why I'm creating my argument for you. Not, and we may have a discussion about other thoughts and things, and maybe some other teachers have had influence on them, which is great. And I like them to have their home coach back home. But I'm going to say, here's the facts on how the club is being delivered. That is an objective thing. I've got 3D motion capture, I've got launch monitors. You can't argue with that. You can't, and so if the club is, coming in impact, handle high, toe down, the face is always pointed to the right. And then you're doing some sort of subconscious adjustment so the ball doesn't go to the right. If the face is always open and you're going to deliver the ball to the, you're always doing some sort of subconscious gyration where the face is trying to be corrected in the last moments, and you can't do that. So I don't usually get those arguments. Now I feel for those coaches that do. You might go some random range and you sign up for some lesson with some coach you don't know, and maybe that student feels a little bit more like they're going to tell that coach what they know. And and not to say I don't get the odd heavy duty type A that comes to see me and they try to pontificate and stuff, and I just basically cut them off at the knees at the moment, and I'm not nice about it either. I go, listen, you aren't good at golf. Sorry to tell you, buddy. You shoot 85. And go ahead, hit some shots for me. I've seen the best in the world hit shots in front of me, and you're not it. So you can listen to me. You paid me already. I've been paid, and I'm gonna give you my best insights. You can waste your time telling me what you think, or you can just let me give you what I think, and then you can negotiate those feelings and thoughts when we're done.
Wow.
So I've had that, and I
Yeah.
basically, I'm like, listen, I mean, you paid me either way, right? I'm paid in front when people book me. They book online. They pay for the time. If somebody wants, when I was younger, I would listen to them telling me stuff. And I would be like, okay, Mr. 55-year-old CEO guy when I was 30. Now I'm like, listen, I'm 57, been there, done that, seen that. You might be 62 or 70 or whatever. Trust me here, man. You're not good at golf. I'm going to help you be better at golf. So just take advantage of what you pay for. And let me give you my thoughts and feels and suggestions. You can flush them down the toilet afterward if you want to, but I'm being honest with you. I care about your swing, and I'm going to give you the facts on why this club isn't performing. And now I'm going to absolutely, try to support your development, getting better at the game.
I love that. You mentioned all the data that we have available to us now and the technology that you utilize with TrackMan and FlightScope and Body Track and all of those things that you have at your disposal and we have as students to be able to check out. Where do you stand on data versus the good old-fashioned ball flight?
Well, like back to what I said, like I use this stuff to create an argument. So I use it so the students like, yep, can't argue my club path is excessively left across the target line. Yep, can't argue that my club is excessively down or whatever it is, or my low point control is poor. So once I create the argument, the student's like, yep, you nailed it, right? And so I am wrong sometimes in my, prescription, not usually. Usually because it's humans are pretty similar in how they get the club on the ball. And so I'll use the data just to create the argument. And I use it briefly. Like most of my lessons aren't 1 hour. They're usually 3 hour sessions or full day sessions. That's how I prefer because I want to get to know the human. I want to go watch the human play a couple holes. I want to, family, how much time do they play? Do their kids play? When are they going to play? You know what I mean? I like to kind of know the style of golfer they are. Are they competitive? Are they just social golfers? Are they, I mean, there's a variety of different types of golfers out there. There's, hidden gigglers. And so I want to know what kind of golfer they are so I know what type of coaching to provide them. And, whether I got to be full Martin Chuck hard ass or I got to be kind of kid gloves, give this person a hug. And I can be all those things. And so, I create the argument. Here's why we're going to go down this road. And then away we go. And, sometimes I see things that I really like in golfer swings that they don't necessarily like. And I'll say, hey, don't fall in love with a video. A video doesn't play golf. People say, oh man, look at that position. Look at that club there. I'm like, buddy, you just hit 10 drivers that were reasonably powerful and very predictable. That's all good golf is. Golf is what the ball does, not how you look on a video. I'll say, I don't see that as your problem. If you're shooting 85 with that predictability on your driver, that's not your problem, buddy. Your problem might be 30-yard pitch shots, 20-yard pitch shots, not converting simple up and ins. Why don't we focus on how we're going to save the 10 strokes you're complaining about, not this predictable fade that might tumble out 235 from the blue tee and position you nicely to break 80 on any, regular golf course in the country.
So, yeah, I love that. Let's take that a half step further because you mentioned, time. How much time does somebody have to devote to golf? Where are they in their golf mind for what they're trying to get out of the game, what they can achieve? If somebody only has a limited amount of time, and it could be for any number of reasons, it could be their work life, it could be their family life, whatever it is, and they've only got a certain amount of time to devote to the game. Where do
Mm-hmm.
you want them spending that time? Does it depend on who the golfer is, or are we losing typically for the average golfer who may go shoot 85? Do you see that? Hey, the majority of the time we're losing strokes. It's the short game. It's the three putts. Where do you see us losing the most amount of strokes if we're going to focus on just what we have time to do?
Well, if you want to score nicely, it's always around the green. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, you got to have something that gets you off the tee somewhat, right? It doesn't have to be the sexiest high bomb Rory McIlroy draw. I played yesterday with a friend of mine who hits a dumpy slap fade. I'm telling you, it is like it's not pretty, but it finds the grass. It finds the grass 220 out there. I mean, I hit it 60 by him. We shot about the same score, embarrassingly. Okay, now the guy plays the game well because he slaps it off the tee, it finds the fairway. Okay, he didn't hit it out of play all day. I did a few times. And then he proceeds to kind of chop fade one toward the green again. I got to cover my eyes when I watch this, but it's around the green every time. So the guy's always he's always in the fight on every hole. And then he's a pretty good chipper and putter. So like he'll hit the occasional green in regulation. He probably hits 3 or 4 greens in regulation. And then, he's not in trouble. He's by the green. He gets up and down probably half the time, maybe a little less than half the time. And the guy can put up like high 70s, and it is not pretty at all. But yet it gets him. Like he knows he's gonna hit a little dumpy fade every time. He doesn't hit it hard enough to get in trouble. And then he takes plenty of club and he knows how to kind of chop fade every ball toward the green. And then his chipping and putting's actually, I'd say, his ball striking's a 18 handicap. His chipping and putting's probably a 4 handicap. And so somewhere in the middle of that, he's probably a 10 handicap. You know what I mean? When you add it all together.
Right.
So, because he's an 18 handicapper with his full swing, but yet he's smart enough to kind of really get his ball around the golf course. So, you can play a pretty damn good game of golf if you're thoughtful and tactful and you chip and putt well.
Through your teaching and your company, Tour Striker, you've helped thousands of people play their best golf. When you first set out with Tour Striker, was there a particular problem that you were trying to solve because you recognized what we were all doing wrong?
Yeah, there was two problems. My bank book was one, and then people's impact condition was the other. Like let's be honest, I'm in business to make money. I'm a nice guy, but I want to make money. Um, And so back in 2006, I had an idea about I would like to inspire the idea of impact differently for everybody. Because, a lot of people don't really realize there's a static address position where we kind of organize ourselves kind of statically and aim. And then there's a dynamic position we flow through that can make a golf ball do some pretty cool things. So the Tour Striker, that name, is a Tour Striker training club. It's a club that is harder to hit than a normal club, but there's reason behind it. When you look at one, you kind of get it. You're like, oh, I see what this guy's done here. It's an elevated face. The face is the bottom of the club and the leading edge of the club are at different heights than a standard golf club. The elevated edge is at the equator of a ball. So unless you learn how to rhythmically lean the shaft to get that elevated leading edge, that training edge below the equator of the ball will never go up. So any scoopers, pickers, extreme flippers with my training club can't get it airborne. And so you start to look at it and go, oh, I see how this club could work. And it's amazingly intuitive. And then that intuition that bleeds into when you have a normal golf club that actually has a lot of room to miss. The face on a normal golf club, you can actually miss. There's tons of room to have the grace not to be perfect. But and when you train, I always say train harder than you play. And then the training club, when I started testing it in like 2008, 9, I was blown away to watch how people changed their sequence of motion just based on, the blend of conscious, subconscious, because consciously we're not that smart. Subconsciously we're geniuses. And so a golf swing is 1 to 1.3 seconds long for decent golfers. Any longer than that, and you're not a decent golfer. Okay, tour players 1 second, lady tour players 1.15, 1.2. A lot of golfers feel, oh, you got to be low and slow. They have a 1.7 second swing. They're terrible. But intuitively, golf is where you swing this club athletically and fairly fast if you want to hit it far. And that there's a big difference between the address position. We take a lot of care in framing around the ball, and then the dynamics of how we deliver the club through a ball, which is just a blur and a blank. Well, I wanted to change how we thought of that blur and blank. And, we've had a lot of success with that. And over the years, it's led to other ideas and other products. And all those things are just born on the lesson tee when I'm with a student going, man, how can I influence this person to learn this faster? That's all it was. And then, we've had some ups and downs in business. The golf camp thrives, which is fantastic. It's like sold out for the year. And then the training aid business is kind of up and down. And then the big challenge, of course, is like the knockoffs are coming from overseas. They're like blatant and unbelievably, just they just knock you off without any consideration to your IP or hard work to bank something. It's like, oh, there's a good product. Let's make 10,000 of those and sell them into the market in the United States. And then you're battling the big markets that sell products that everybody's so familiar with on their phones.
Martin, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the power of the mind. When you are working with someone like me that's a mid-amateur, that may have somewhere between a 10 and a 20 handicap, does confidence play a role in our ability to become good ball strikers?
Yeah, I mean, it sure does. I mean, I say good golf is a game of history. So golf is a history game, meaning that you have a situation, you apply a historical event to that situation, good or bad. You walk up to a shot and you go through your mental Rolodex and you choose good or bad. Man, I flushed this iron shot, exact kind of shot, whether in practice or in a tournament or just casual round. I'm going to use that, and then we can absolutely mesh with those feelings in that moment. So you have this historical connection to something, and then you apply it. That historical connection can be poor too. Oh my gosh, this same situation. I remember chunking this ball in the pond or whatever. So we get to choose, good or bad, this historical reference to apply in that moment. Because it's not muscle memory that we have. We have this memory. And the muscles, they get messages. So we have to choose the messages. And so in practice, you start to build up your Rolodex of success. Hopefully in play, you get some Rolodex of success. And then you have a shot and you choose from that Rolodex and you do your best. And you got to be mentally tough enough to go, yeah, I do remember hooking one out of bounds, or I do remember chunking one in the water, but that's not the historical vision I'm going to use. I'm going to use this one. This was a smoked one down the middle. This was a great, perfectly crispy 7-iron that landed 10 feet. It was gorgeous. That's the one I'm going to attach to for this particular shot. So very rarely do you have a shot in golf, except for total newbies, that there isn't a historical thing we can, grab onto to help us through that moment of look, see, feel, act.
To that end, it seems like we all have a hole on the golf course that we're playing that we always play poorly. I always hit it, to your point. On this par three, I always pull it left and it goes in the water. I always slice this ball into the trees. How do we go about replacing that? Because the mind is a powerful thing. How do you
hmm
go about blocking out the negative one and sourcing through if you very rarely hit a good one? How do you source through to find the good memory?
I would say you may not have a good memory on that hole. So then rather than, doing the same thing and having a result, like the definition of insanity, do something completely wacky. Okay? Like literally, say you got a pond on the left and you have some random feel of face and path. I remember doing this one time. I had this hole. It was the 15th hole. It was at the National Golf Club in Canada. Hard par three, downhill par three. It was 220 yards. And back then, I carried a 1-iron, which was nuts. And it was literally you could shave with this thing. It was an Accuform 1-iron. If any listener probably wouldn't know what that is, but anyway, it was the bladiest of all blades. And so I got to this hole, and I would always aim kind of conservatively over this right bunker, and then I would try to hit, a shot that maybe drew back to the green. If I missed, it would go into this kind of tree. It was a super hard hole. Finally, I got to the hole. I was playing really well, and I just said, you know what, F it. I took a 1-iron, which was too much club because it was downhill. I aimed in the middle of the lake and I just hit this. I purposely aimed in the middle of the lake and then just tried to slice the thing away from the lake. And I did. I started in the lake and I sliced it away from the lake, and guess where it landed? On the green, right? Like something totally wacky. So when you face the hole that you're terrified of, right? And you maybe faded OB or something like that. You know what? Aim OB. Aim OB, and then just say, how do I not hit it, OB? Aim into the trees to the right and let your club face figure out how to make it go more left. And, do something goofy to kind of break the cycle, because you need to break the cycle. And in golf, we are insane because we do the exact same thing and expect a different result. So you need to do something that is wildly different every once in a while. And, my coach, George Knudsen, was interesting because the few times I got to play with him, I wish I would have got to play with him more, but I'll never forget the 16th hole at the National after that par three I was talking about was this a straightaway par four back in the day. Okay, they changed the hole now, but Straightaway, simple par four, bunker right, bunker left, crazy green though, back to front. So you just had to hit kind of a straight shot down there, and then you'd hit some sort of 9 or 8 iron on the green. Well, the 17th hole was a bear. Okay, it was a amazing, one of the hardest par fours in the world. Water on the right, kind of a narrow fairway that expanded out there at about 270 and then narrowed up again, thicker trees on the left. So very demanding driver hole. Well, George liked to rip a draw on 17 and started at the kind of edge of the lake and draw it off the lake back to the fairway. That's how he wanted to see it. So what George did was he'd use 16 as his warm-up hole because he would aim down the right into the right bunker, which if you hit it in the right bunker on 16 for a good player, not a big deal. 150-yard shot. The lip wasn't much to contend with. Good player's going to step in there and hit a 9 iron or an 8 iron or wedge or whatever. Hit the ball first, hit it on the green. It's not a hard shot. For an amateur, it's a little harder. So George would use 16 as his warm-up feel for 17. And if he didn't hit a good perfect draw, which, for him was he hit it pretty damn good, he would change his feel for 17. He would be a bit more defensive, hit it down the left tree line and kind of fade it back into the fairway. So he would use 16 as a warm up for 17. So he would, and that I found that to be unique. Like it's something that was pretty cool. And then also, like if you do have a chance to warm up on the range, what are your critical shots? Like think about your critical shots you have to play that day. There's only a few of them really. Okay, that one hole you hate. All right, well, if the OB's right, can we aim into the OB or do you want to aim 50 yards left into a big old slice back toward it? I mean, whatever it is, get the history imprinted a bit. So when you finally get there, you're only going back in time, an hour or two or three to the range. You're not going back in time, 4 years to a history you're pulling or a week ago to a practice routine that you did. So anyway, hope that gives you some
Yeah.
insights. Like,
Yeah.
don't be afraid of being wildly different in a situation that makes you vomit because you're probably going to puke on yourself because you already have a bunch of times. So don't do the same thing again. Don't try to be perfect. Do something way different.
I love all of that. Negative self talk, Martin, is something we talk about on this show a lot as well because we do so much of it out on the golf course. We hit a bad shot, we get down on ourselves, we slam a club, we do whatever. We tell ourselves all kinds of horrible negative things. And our brain hears that and it's hearing it in our own voice, which is horribly damaging for us. What do you do for your students to get them out of, hey, you hit a bad shot, but that was a shot ago. Now you've got to focus on the next one in order to get yourself back to where you want to do? How do you get them out of the negative mindset and back into a positive frame of mind?
So I'm a freak about routine. I'm an absolute routine maniac. I make every student have a routine. Like once they make their choice on their shot, it's about, all right, making a really good, this is exactly where the ball's going to go, and this is exactly how it's going to curve. That's my choice. Good. I got it. Yep. Check. Let's go. All right. That's my intermediate target. Yep. Let's go. Here's my walking routine. Here's my waggles. Here's my look. And then go. And then there's an outcome. All right. The outcome, somebody might say great shot to you. And it might be a great shot, but it might be nothing like you intended. Okay. You might get hey, that was a great shot. It might be close to the pin. Maybe you didn't aim there, right? You're being way more conservative and you missed hit one stony. Is it really a great shot? No. The outcome was awesome, but it wasn't what you intended. So that, you could have had an outcome that had the same amount of curve that went in a pond or got stuck in a bunker. So, golf is this game of routine decision making, routine execution reflection. So once students realize that that's really all good players do is make a decision, stick with their plan, execute the plan as best they can, reflect on it. What was the outcome? And then rinse and repeat. And that's really all golf is. And then have enough sense not to be insane by duplicating the same mistake. Because a lot of us are insane, me included. And so, don't be afraid to mix things up when things aren't going your way. So but I still, no matter what, it's all routine, routine, routine. Because you get in a routine and then the shot's over before you know it. And, 80% of the time you're going to get something functional, 20% of the time you won't. And if you don't get something functional, hopefully it's on the golf course still and you get to chip and putt it and try to save a par or bogey.
Martin, just a couple more before I let you go.
Sure.
More about you. When golfers talk about you, what do you hope they say that you help them understand about the game or say about you in general when they've gotten an opportunity to spend some time on your practice tee?
I want them leaving excited about their next few practice sessions. I want them knowing that they spend time with a caring coach who, was like sometimes like who reads the room a little bit and the person in front of me. Like sometimes I feel like a football coach. Sometimes I feel like a mob boss. Sometimes I feel like you're, really cuddly, you know, aunt that loves you. It depends on who's in front of me, but I want them to have a great time. I want them to leave excited and then know they've got a plan. And that's really it, man, because people, all they want is a little plan. Like, how do I get better? Well, this is what you do to get better. Okay. Here's your plan. Oh, but I'm a little derailed. Okay, cool. Here's a way to check back with your coach and ask a question. When people are done with me, they're never done with me. I always give them a way to check back through the coaching app we use where their videos compile in a feed. There's, hey, this is when we first met you. This might have been your 20th lesson. This might have been your sixth golf camp. It's a feed from day one, might be 10 years ago to current. And so there's a friendship built, and I'm a friend and a coach, and I'm going to kick you in the ass if you need it, but I'm also there to support you. And I'm also there to support you with your coach back home or whatever coaching environment you're in. Because I'm just somebody that wants you to play your best golf based on your physicality and your opportunity to play the game. So I want people to go, yeah, I had a good time, and man, the guy cares about me, and I got a plan. That's it.
So, what's the nicest thing one of your students has said to you that has always stuck with you?
Ooh, nicest thing, gosh. I get plenty of notes. Hey, I played my best score, blah, blah, blah. Appreciate all, the clarity you provided, those kind of things. I tell you what I get a kick out of. When people come to see me, they always say, I feel like I already know you. They say, I feel like I already know you because they've watched my content online, whether it's been through some of the different platforms like Performance Golf or Revolution Golf, the Golf Channel, those kind of things. And that's cool. Like they feel like, man, I just feel like I've known you, and here we go. We're getting into a lesson. I'm like, great, because that's about it, And then I joke and I say, well, I'm way nicer in those videos than I'm about to be to you right now, And then they laugh just like that, and we get to it. So ultimately, I want people to go, hey, that dude was honest, and I had a good time, and I got a plan, and that's really it. Like I'm not. I always say I'd rather be respected than liked. And, if you're just honest with people and they know you're giving them your full attention and intention, they're thrilled. And that's my goal.
Speaking of your content online, let our listeners know how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you're out there doing? Follow you, whether it's online or it's on social media.
The quick hitters are just Instagram, Martin Chuck PGA, Tour Striker Golf. Those are my business and personal Instagrams. They're both golf heavy. Some silly stuff on my personal one. So Instagram, you can find me. YouTube, I've got tons of stuff on there. I'm not a great YouTuber though. I probably post once a week, and there's content that is great. I think people would really dig, but it's not what I really do. My primary thing is running a big, robust golf camp. And right now I'm a faculty member of Performance Golf. Those guys are fantastic. And there's some great programs. I think they're great because I work my ass off to create them for a lot of golfers, and they're for most golfers, whether you're a scratch golfer or brand new. Because I don't use fancy language when I coach. I just kind of express things in a human tone that I think people can understand and find relatable, and I get a lot of positive feedback from those.
Well, Martin, you're awesome, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come back and be a part of the show. I hope we get this privilege again with you before too long.
Absolutely. You know what? Happy to be on. You take care and great talking to you, Chris.
Thank you, Martin. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you.
All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this episode of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks again to Tom Patry, Paul Alexander, and Martin Chuck for joining me this week. Scheduled to join me next time are LPGA legend Julie Inkster will be here. Can't wait to catch up with Julie. Our good friend and 2019 Champions Tour Player of the Year, Scott McCarron, will be back, as will former tour player and now one of the most sought-after putting instructors in our game, Dave Stockton Jr., will make a very long overdue return to the show. And I hope you'll come back and be a part of it with us. Folks, I want to thank again our wonderful friends over at Trib Live. They're just such great partners. I can't appreciate them enough, and for hosting this show on their site. For the latest news from Western Pennsylvania and beyond, including your favorite sports, go to triblive.com. You can find this show by then clicking on the sports section tab of triblive.com. It's there on the homepage of the sports section. Next on the T, you're going to find it. Or you can go to podcast.triblive.com to find the show as well. You can also find us pretty much everywhere you get your podcasting content. We're out on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and golfnewsnet.com. But folks, as always, like I say each and every week, the biggest thanks go out to each and every one of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.
Thanks for joining Chris again this week on Next on the Tee. We hope you enjoyed the conversations as much as we did. Please share the show with your golf buddies and be sure to follow it on Trib Live or your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Thanks for pressing play and being part of the journey. We'll see you next week, right here, where the best minds in golf share their stories.